All right, welcome back to Patriots Lament. All right. So I had some help here, but we couldn't get her figured out. Studio man logged in. So we'll just forget about it. Well, we're not forgetting about it. You can see Mike's beautiful face, but you can't hear Dave. So, yeah. He said there's a channel that we gotta tell YouTube to use, and he couldn't figure it out. And I tried over the break. Neither could I. Neither could I. Oh well, such is our life. We'll get something figured out someday. All right, back to the show here. So we were talking about, will there be a collapse? Is money money? Is the government worthless? All those things. So let's get on to, does it really matter for us, our day-to-day life? And what do we do when we hear all this fear-mongering and woe is us, and oh, we're all going to die, and prop up the government money? I mean, there are people that specifically just fear government collapse, government shutdowns, and all that stuff, specifically just because they're worried about their wealth. Oh, what would we do? And we were talking about yesterday a little bit, well, if you take taxes out of the situation, how wonderful would that be? I mean, could you imagine wealth upon wealth, the whole worldwide, if it wasn't being arbitrarily taken, stolen from pretty much everyone in the whole world?
Yeah. Well, there's a number out there. It's 40% of the, when the tax burden on a society becomes about 40% of their GDP, you're looking at revolution. And France is the highest taxed of all of Europe, and it's like 43 or 46% of their GDP.
That's just for your basic low life person.
Yeah, well, that's the overall tax burden.
Okay.
And here they are erupting in revolution. Now the U.S. is about 27%, and we're talking about the direct tax burden. We're not. If you start counting the hidden, if you count the seen and the unseen, yeah, we're around 2/3 of GDP.
Right.
If you're in case of the seen, we're about 27%. So.
Yeah, well, you know which part hurts me, Mike? Is the unseen.
Yeah, I know.
That seen stuff I can kind of deal with. The unseen stuff is the stuff that you go, oh, I didn't see that coming.
Right. Yeah, that whole thing about if you can't see it, it won't hurt you. It's just, it's bogus.
It doesn't have anything to do with taxation. Stuff you can't see that hurts the most.
Right. But that there's long been the idea that the wealth of a nation is based on its the commodities it has in the ground, right? The resources, but the value is really the productive capacity of the people, and that's true for every individual. Your worth is in the economy is your productive capacity, right? So they can't take that away from you unless they put you in a cage.
Right.
So I don't know. Maybe you can come up with a solution out of that. Trade your labor for goods. Then you're back to the barter economy. Makes trade more difficult because you don't have the common means of exchange.
Well, and there's no reason why, I don't think, like Dave, you're talking about using futures and stuff like that. There's no reason why that would necessarily have to disappear. Right? Let's just say the dollar goes, boom, all gone. The debt's finally caught up to them, blah, blah, blah. Why do we have to collapse with them? And I'm specifically saying them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, obviously it would hurt a lot of people, but why would that have to be end of civilization, end of all goodness? I mean, couldn't it actually be the exact opposite of that, just depending on the way you took it? I mean, just like it was the example I was given in the last hour was, America's burning. You guys are worried about, America's not burning. Sure, there were some government officials out of work. There was some, people that were put in different situations that weren't the best because they didn't have their government, whatever, there. But pretty much all of America just kept chugging along. I mean, Fairbanks literally from the scene didn't change at all.
Right.
It snowed. The borough put up their unhealthy air measure. Everything just kind of chugs along no matter what. So that's kind of what, do we need to fear this thing? Because I've always, was raised up to fear the economic collapse and the government spending and this and that. Like, well, that'll be the end of us all. When it collapses, the big meltdown, everyone's running through the streets with machine guns and just gunning everyone down, and the buildings are getting blown up and we're burning everything, and it's just, everything go to hell, we're going freaking out, the wrong word for anarchy would be out there.
Yeah, they're not going to take 40% of your productive capacity anymore, right?
Right. So why would that have to happen? Why does it have to happen that way?
Because it's in people's minds.
Aha.
That's the only reason.
Dave, you talked about that a lot. We've all talked about it. Living out what you think should happen or you think's going to happen, and ended up the way you live ends up making it happen anyways. So how do we live our lives where whether that happens, a collapse or whatever, government, let's just say, I'm not going to minimize the 2008 financial crisis. I personally knew a lot of people that lost all their money, all their cash, gone, all their savings, gone. A friend of mine lost, I think it was something like $240,000 that he'd been saving all his life and had in these different stocks and stuff. And then he had nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like, it can't affect anyone's life whatsoever. He's still alive and doing pretty well again, I think. So how do we live our lives not worrying about that? How do we not live our daily lives for the catastrophe and just live our life to no matter what happens, we're okay anyways? Now you two have to figure that out. Find a community. Yeah. And that doesn't necessarily mean a physical, are you talking about a physical place community or a community no matter where you are? Mm-hmm. Hmm. Right.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, they do. It's that using your skill for someone else is satisfying on its own. On its own. Like, oh, I can replace that fuel pump, no problem. Right. That kind of thing. And so, really, what you're saying is wherever you are physically, find your community.
Mhm.
What do you think geographically, since you've traveled the world in the 7 seas, does that make a difference? Hmm. Right.
Mhm.
And there's really crappy people. Hmm. Yeah, so that's probably the most important thing is community. I know, I know a whole lot of people in Fairbanks, and I know very few of them. And it's kind of the way I don't mind it either. I know of and talked to and dealt with and done business with and worked with a lot of people, but I only know a select few. And I use the word select on purpose because I selected who to know
Mhm.
on a more personal basis. And, it's kind of on you could almost say it's on a selfish nature because I look for people that, for one, have a general viewpoint like mine. I don't want to hang around a statist. I cannot, okay, or like a warmonger. I'd last about 30 seconds with them. It's great. We're over there kicking the crap out of them Arabs. I literally can't even be in the room with them without saying something that will probably end our friendship really quickly if we have a friendship. And I don't mind that.
Mhm.
Don't mind that at all. So when I say selectively, it is a selfish, maybe isn't the right word, but it's also, it is because I look at where you are in your life, okay, your outlook on life and your viewpoints on state and more your viewpoints on morality. Okay, I can't get along very long with people that think that having an abortion all the way up to birth is cool, is all right. I will say something that will end that friendship more quickly, if not just as quickly as the warmonger. I can't stand that. The skill set part, I probably look at less, but I think that when you pick and choose friends on some other levels or relationships on different levels, almost everyone has some kind of a skill. Whether sometimes they don't even know it, but everyone does. Someone knows something that you don't. Just about, well, everyone knows something I don't. So that makes that part easy. But we are selective in who we hang out with. And what's cool about today is that your community can be broadened. There is the physical community, but there's also, your community can be broadened. Like, we can talk with Dave, and he's 1,000, 2,000 miles away.
Mhm.
We can interact and send each other stuff in a blink of an eye, and encourage each other, enlighten each other, these sorts of things in a snap.
Mhm.
So there's that outside broader community. But I think you're right, Dave, with having the inner community of your day-to-day interaction. And then, when I say day to day, it doesn't mean every single day you go to these 20 people or so, hey, but it's someone you have a connection with that have the same. I mean, isn't it important to have the same mentality, these people that you're making community with? I mean, I'm not saying you can't be diverse. Of course, diversity is fine, but there's certain things. Right. 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 Like I probably couldn't hang around people very long that hated kids. Hey, come on over. You have 8 kids? No. Nah, okay. Don't come over. Ever. Type of thing. So I mean, I know some. I feel the same way about some people's kids. Don't ever come over. But anyways, I'm blabbing. Go ahead, guys. Yeah, rarely even crosses their mind. That's a good point. 10 decades. Should do. Right. Sure. Right. Yeah. I wonder how many. Let me interrupt you on that thought specifically, because I wonder how many people that are looking to next month. How am I going to pay next month's bills? I wonder how many of those folks are the same ones that think in the back of their mind, I just wish there was an economic collapse, because then, you get where I'm coming from there? Wishing for that thing to happen. So,
Misery loves company.
Yeah. Well, if this catastrophe happened, then I wouldn't have to worry about my next month's bills because everyone will be miserable. No one's going to come take my house then, or you know what I mean?
Right.
I think there's a lot of people like that. Yeah. Right. Right. That's the hard part too, is getting in the mindset of step one, right? I mean, if you tell someone, hey, it'd be great to have $1,000 cash or 5,000, don't even say 10 cash. That's a big number. You're like, oh, well, I can never get there. But like you said, saving the 2 or 3, $4 here, $4 there, $10 here, $10 there, over a course of time. And I think a lot of people too, Dave, they think, well, I'd never be able to save enough before I would need it. By the time I get $10,000, right? Yep, I would never have $1,000 set aside for this catastrophe or this calamity, because it's going to happen. 20 years later, they're saying, I'll never be able to save this amount because it's going to happen tomorrow. So think small, and because no one knows the hour of the day. No one knows when it's going to happen. I mean, like I said in the last hour, we all said, most of us grew up, a lot of us grew up, hearing for me, 40 years of my life, yep, it's all going to collapse tomorrow. And you even listen to, we've had Richard Mayberry, who's, I think, a great common sense person to listen to. He said, hey, who knows? I thought it should have happened a long time ago. These guys keep pulling eggs out of their hat, It's amazing. Good for them. They figured out how to push off a collapse at the end. So just do something now. Like Dave said, the $5. $5 a week even is something. Yeah. Yes. Wait, step 2 is turn on Patriots Lament instead. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right. Mm.
Mhm.
And you can buy that at $5 at a time.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
I used to do that with gold and silver, with looking at the app. What's it doing now? What's it doing now? What's it doing now? And now it's like, maybe once a month. Like, wonder what's going on. Oh, that's cool. It's, yeah. I mean, right, right.
Mhm.
And even, that gold and silver sounds like a big thing too. But there's such small denominations you can get now, and always have been able to. You don't have to have $2,000 to go down and buy an ounce of gold. If you have $130, you can go buy a tenth. Or if you have $16, you can go buy an ounce of silver. And every time you have $16, you go buy an ounce of silver, eventually you'll get up and you'll go, hey, I can go trade this in for an ounce of gold or whatever you want to do. Or I can go cash this out and buy $1,000 worth of crypto, or I can just cash it out and have cash money or whatever you want.
Mhm.
It's all the same. You can get small denominations. I think what we're trying to encourage people is not to get overwhelmed by magnitude. Yeah. Aim small, miss small. Sorry. Hmm. And then encourage your community to do the same thing. Learn. I mean, one of the greatest things about community is being able to offer to it, not just being the leech on it. Right? Right. Yep. So learn some good habits, good techniques, and then teach or share with your community that you've developed on the same thing. Say, hey, look, I've been doing this for 6 months now, and now I'm up to whatever. So I think we're, not to confuse people. The first hour we were talking about is collapse imminent, like, who knows, whatever. But at the same time, like I shared earlier, my people perish for lack of knowledge. Well, we're trying to give you a little bit of knowledge in our small frame of knowledge that we have. And it doesn't hurt to have that 100-year arc built up, no matter what. I mean, because it might, it doesn't have to be the U.S. global collapse or something like that. It could be, oh crap, I lost my job for 3 weeks or a month, or shoot, my friend in my community, his kid's sick. I need to help him. He needs my help. Being that asset of, like you said, being the asset of the community. Don't be the slug of it. Be important to it. Be valuable to it. Because that puts value in your life. It puts value in your relationship, and it gives value to your the people you have relationships with too. Because you don't want them thinking that about you. Like, oh no. Every time I get a little ahead, here he comes and or she comes and be the one that's leading the pack. What's great is to have a community and of people that want to lead the pack. And I don't mean forcibly, we're going to do exactly what I want, but everyone sharing their leadership. I have taken leadership over this part of my life. Let me share with you how I did it if you want to know. But if you have a community of friends, they're going to want to know. And this person, well, I've taken ownership of this part of my life. Let me share with you how to do this, how to do that. And then we all strengthen the bonds together and become a strong, stable community right there, no matter where you are. That's what we're trying to get to.
Yeah. And if the one of the purposes of life is the experiences, what can you go through? A massive collapse shouldn't be something to worry about. I mean, that's quite an experience. So don't worry about it. The purpose of your life should be to sit safely in your living room, right?
Yeah.
So what there's not. And what great experiences. I mean, as bad as a collapse might sound, think of all the great experiences that will come of it within the overall experience.
Well, I think if you take steps now,
mm-hmm.
and Jim was just texting me up, going back to the big steps. Taking big steps and leaps is scary. That's why we never do it. That's why we're encouraging small baby steps.
Right.
If you ever seen What About Bob? Baby steps to the hall. Baby steps to to Jerry's store. Get a little baby steps. Yeah. Baby steps. If you haven't seen What About Bob, well, just come on over because we watch it at least once a month.
Oh, really?
Baby steps. That's right. So also, I think we're at a point where we can open the phone lines too at 907-458-8255 if you'd like to comment or ask questions or give us some of your own steps that you do or think of. I mean, we're definitely not claiming to hold the corner on this topic at all. But I think we're giving out some good ideas. And just, again, to encourage thought, to encourage the mind to start wandering a little bit. Get out of the box. Untie the knots, like we said. What are things? Quit living in fear and take steps to get yourself out of that fear. Give yourself a little, maybe it's mental security, if anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it doesn't have to be this. End of the world scenario. It may be something that. Right. And when there is the end of the world, it doesn't matter then. So who cares? I'm actually looking forward to that day. The end of the world as we know it. So, and this might sound a little bit more prepper talk type of thing, but even I know people that we all do, friends or whatever, that really do worry about, that might have family or even that don't, that really do worry about, I don't even know how I'm going to pay next week's bills, much less next month. So for folks like that, I guess, if you can't afford anything, just keep doing the best that you can and find that community that can help you. Right? Maybe it doesn't, when I was saying you don't want to be the leech or whatever, it doesn't necessarily have to be monetarily. You can add something to your community and add to it. Just be willing to do it. Doesn't have to be monetarily. I mean, there's all part of a body, and we have some people are the feet, some people are the hands, some are the eyes, some are the mouth, like on this radio station, big mouse, some of the ears, all those things. So you gotta just look at yourself as a diverse being. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, come on. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's part of the class warfare too. It's the whole idea of, well, they're separate, they're a billionaire. You don't know how much he actually has access to, right? That's just what his asset claim is. So, right? Yeah, I mean, or the Tesla guy, Elon Musk. I mean, he's got a pretty miserable life actually.
Yeah, it ain't all about the Benjamins, no matter what the song says.
Right. It's not like they could just go out and buy 10 yachts and go float around on them.
Yeah, you got to be a Saudi prince to do that.
You have to be a part of the government to do that. It's
absolutely not.
It's not. But people want to believe it is.
Because you can only sail on one at a time.
And you might get seasick, and he'd just rather stay on land, right?
Now, so you want to buy 10 and give one to me, I will sell one of them for them. But that hasn't been happening, guys, no matter how much I wish. All right, let's take a phone call here. Hello, caller, you're on the air. Hello, thanks for calling. Which types? I mean, so Dave, what? The crypto stuff? Yeah. I think your radio's up in the background. It does make pretty cool sound effects. And sometimes I do think we're on the Twilight Zone, but we don't need any help with it. Dave, go ahead with that if you want to take that question. What? Whoa. How about now?
Oh. Well, he was asking where can he get the DGX and the other cryptos that you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So Coinbase, I think, is probably one of the easiest. I have Coinbase and Zappo on my phone, and either one of them's pretty simple. But it is digital, so you need a computer or a smartphone or something like that to do it. Or a friend, right? Community.
Mhm.
Do you have access? Do you have access to a computer? Well, I'll tell you what. I will ask David if he will. We have a website called Patriots Lament. Yeah, patriotslament.blogspot.com, and I'll ask David to put some of these references up on that so you can look right at it, and maybe you can put links up to them, and you can just click on them, and it'll take you right to where you need to go. Patriots Lament. Yeah. It's .blogspot.com, but if you just Google Patriots Lament, we come up. We're at the top of the food chain on that one. Oh,
Dave can't hear.
Mike,
Yeah, he's
Dave,
asking
he
how
was
to get
asking-
his money back.
how do you get your money back out once you pay it? Yes. Yeah, once you get into it, basically you can just request or just make the sell. You can sell it again and just have the buyer send you a check. No, it's actually expanded quite dramatically. Yes, sir. Thank. Yep. Yep. All right. Thank you for the call. Appreciate it. Cryptos. You know, it's amazing when you're talking about looking at the daily traders. I do. It's fun. I have an app called Crypto Trader, and the dashboard is just. I finally cut it down to ones that I recognize a little bit because there's like hundreds Hundreds. But it is fun. I mean, it's fun just to jump on. Like, let's see. Bitcoin global average 3602. Up, excuse me, up $18. And when I looked at it here, when the guy first called, it was up 26. So, it jumps around. It can drive you crazy. And like Dave said, you don't want to jump in and then go, oh, I'm going to jump over here, jump over there, jump over here, jump over there. Just chill out. Right. Yep. And if you don't know what you're doing, like I said, learn. Just a couple bucks at a time. Yep. Never forget. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of fun. And even with, I think it's fun that you can mess around with hard assets with it too now. I mean, it's just expanded like crazy. With like with gold, you can do the same thing with it now. It's not like where you just were able to buy some gold bonds or mining shares or anything like that. There's a bazillion ways to own it in some form or fashion now. And I still like Silver and Gold. One of my favorite songs. Silver and Gold. But it is.
Right.
So we
You'll
got
never go take gold and silver down to Fred Meyer buy stuff, but still a good store of value.
No, but you might be able to go down to the parking lot and trade some dude for a few bucks and go into Walmart.
That's right.
For sure. And I think, you guys think that the metals still have does it still have the psychic power that it used to have, where people are like, ooh, gold, ooh, silver? Think that'll ever go away?
It depends on the culture. Like India, gold is highly valued. It's, jewelry,
Right.
Weddings and stuff like that. They buy a lot of gold. I guess that's gone down. That's been reduced in the past few years because of the economic issues they've had. But I don't. In a culture like ours, maybe not so much, because people just pay for stuff on their smartphones now.
I know.
So as far as money goes, yeah, gold's not going to be money. As far as a trinket, yeah, or as a hold of value that you can trade in for the existing currency, sure.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, you're going to the direction of electronic money now.
Yeah.
So we're going away from the hard to the soft.
All right, we'll be back 1 more hour.
Dad, I think you were talking about people getting buy stuff from their phone. Reminds me of an advertisement when it's mother goes on a phone.
He was trying to help them out a political solution